Maya, when we talk about interviews, people always imagine everyone else is super calm. But honestly, nerves are almost guaranteed for everyone. I remember my first English interview. My hands were shaking under the table.
That makes me feel better, actually. Sometimes I worry that if I'm nervous, it means I'm not ready. But hearing that even native speakers get anxious takes a bit of the pressure off. How do you usually manage those nerves?
For me, breathing slowly helps, but I also prepare notes, just little reminders. Slowing down my speech is a huge one. It gives my brain time to catch up with my mouth, especially if I'm searching for the right word. Do you find that helps you too?
Absolutely. Speaking slowly feels strange at first, but it really gives me space to think. If I rush, I trip over my words way more. It kind of feels like giving myself permission to pause, you know?
Since calming those initial nerves is step one, let's imagine you're walking into that office in New York. What's your go-to greeting when you spot Mr. Johnson waiting?
I try to keep it simple but warm. I'd walk in, smile, and say, "Good morning, Mr. Johnson. It's a pleasure to meet you." I always hope a friendly start will help both of us relax a bit.
A smile really is magic, isn't it? Most interviewers appreciate a calm, genuine greeting way more than a perfect accent. I've noticed that even a simple smile can set a positive tone right away.
Totally. Even if my grammar isn't perfect, a little confidence in the hello feels like a good first step. It's funny how small gestures like eye contact and a smile go a long way even across cultures.
Now, after the greetings, almost every interview has that classic question. Tell me about yourself and why you're here. That one can feel huge, can't it?
I always get a bit stuck there because it's so open, but I try to start with my background and then connect it to the job. Like, I might say, I started in marketing 4 years ago, managed a team, and now I want to join a global company like this.
That's a strong approach. The key is what you just did, linking your story to the company you're interviewing with. Instead of listing every job, you focus on what's relevant and why you're excited about this position.
Exactly. And if I mention specific skills like my international experience, it feels more natural. It shows I've thought about what they actually need, not just what I've done.
That actually reminds me, lots of people worry they need big words to sound professional in English interviews. But what matters is clarity and confidence, not complicated vocabulary.
That's such a relief. Sometimes I freeze trying to remember fancy terms, but short, clear sentences feel much safer. Like saying I managed a team instead of I spearheaded cross-functional initiatives.
Exactly. Simple language is powerful. Plus, when you're clear, the interviewer understands you right away. I always say, it's better to be understood than to impress with vocabulary you're not comfortable with.
And honestly, if I try to use words I don't really know, I get more nervous. Keeping it simple helps me stay calm and sound like myself.
One thing you mentioned earlier was being a fit for the role. That's such a key idea in interviews, showing how your skills match what the company needs.
Before I thought fit just meant personality. But now I realize it's also about showing my experiences and skills are exactly what the company's looking for. Like, if I've run international campaigns, I should highlight that for a global company.
Definitely. When you connect your background to the company's goals, it's like solving a puzzle together. And honestly, taking your time, speaking clearly, and sharing those matches is what makes you stand out.
I'm starting to feel more confident about this. Instead of worrying about every single word, I'll focus on sharing my story and how it fits the company. That feels much more doable, honestly.
Before we finish up, Maya, what's one thing you'll take into your interview now that you didn't feel before?
I think remembering that everyone's nervous, even the interviewer, helps a lot. Plus, I know I can take my time and focus on connecting, not just on perfect English.
That's such a great point. And listeners, if you take anything away from today, let it be this. Preparation and clear, calm speaking are your best friends in any interview.
Thanks so much, Alex. I feel way more ready, and I hope everyone listening feels a little more confident for their own English interviews too.
So Maya, let's dig a bit deeper. A lot of English learners feel nervous when an interviewer suddenly says, "Every job has stress. Tell me about a time you handled a tough situation at work." How does that question hit you?
To be honest, that one always makes my heart race a little. I usually freeze up, but I'm working on it. I mean, in reality, I do have stories, I just struggle to explain them clearly in English.
That's so relatable. I think almost everyone has blanked out on that type of question at least once. Maybe we could walk through a real example together, just to make it feel less intimidating.
Actually, I have one. There was a time my team faced a huge deadline, but 2 people were out sick and the work kept piling up. I managed not to panic, though it was tempting.
Wow, sounds like you were thrown right into the deep end. What did you do to handle everything without getting completely overwhelmed?
I started by making a list of the most urgent tasks, so I knew where to focus. Then I stayed late for 2 days to get everything finished. It was exhausting, but we submitted the project on time and the client was thrilled.
That's a great example. Not only did you keep your cool, but you also took clear steps to solve the problem. I think listeners can learn a lot from that kind of story.
It taught me that even when things feel impossible, organizing your priorities really helps. Plus, I feel more confident telling that story now. Thanks for encouraging me to share it.
You mentioned the word deadline, and that's such a key term. Just so everyone's on the same page, a deadline is basically the latest possible time or date when something has to be finished.
Right, and I also used prioritize. That means I decided which things were most important and worked on them first. Using words like that does make me feel more professional, almost like I'm giving my answers more strength.
Absolutely. Those are what I call power words. They don't just fill space, they show you can organize, act under pressure, and lead. Hiring managers notice that.
Honestly, having those words ready feels like I have a special English toolbox. It takes some of the anxiety out of tricky questions.
Switching gears a bit, one question that always trips people up is, what's your greatest weakness? It's hard not to sound negative or like you're dodging the truth. How have you learned to handle that one?
I used to say I didn't have any, which never felt right. Now, I'm honest. I sometimes take on too much work because I want to help everyone. It can leave me worn out, but I'm working on setting boundaries and using a calendar to organize my time.
That's a fantastic approach. You're showing self-awareness, but also that you take action to improve. It turns a weakness into a story of growth, which is exactly what interviewers want to hear.
It's funny, admitting your weaknesses actually makes you look stronger if you have a plan. I've noticed managers appreciate honesty, as long as you show you're working on it.
Thinking about all these strategies, it's almost like preparing for interviews is a bit like training for a sport. The more you practice telling your stories and using those power words, the more natural it gets.
That's exactly how I feel. I started off nervous, but now I really see the value in practicing not just the language, but the way I explain myself. It actually gets easier over time.
And if you stumble, that's just part of the process. Every attempt, even if it's messy, adds to your experience. Pretty soon, you'll have a whole set of stories ready to go.
Thanks, Alex. This conversation is making me realize I'm more prepared than I thought. I hope other learners listening feel the same, that with the right words and a little practice, tough questions aren't so scary after all.
Maya, I have to say, you really shine today. I noticed your confidence just kept building as we went on. Do you feel any different now than you did when we first started chatting?
Honestly, Alex, I feel so much lighter, almost like a weight has been lifted. Practicing these sentences out loud makes them feel like they're really mine now, not just random words from a textbook. It's kind of exciting.
That's exactly what I love to hear. It's amazing how speaking out loud transforms things, right? You go from memorizing lines to actually owning them.
Definitely, and it makes me want to keep going, because suddenly English feels a bit less scary and a bit more doable.
That enthusiasm is contagious, Maya. Now, you mentioned how saying things aloud helps. I always say listening and repeating is almost like magic. It really rewires your brain. Did you notice a difference once you started shadowing phrases?
Oh, for sure. When I repeat a phrase after you, it's like my mouth and brain are finally working together. The words just start to feel more natural, like they're part of my own voice.
That's the trick. You're building what I call muscle memory for your tongue. Once your mouth gets used to those movements, it's so much easier to speak up without overthinking.
It reminds me of learning to ride a bike. At first it's awkward, but after a while you just go and the wobbles become less scary.
Speaking of practice, it's time for our favorite part, the shadowing practice. Listeners, This is where you actually get your speaking muscles moving. I'll say a phrase, then pause for you to mimic me. Try matching my emotion and speed. You ready, Maya?
Born ready. I always love this part because it feels like we're all in it together, just a little team practicing English.
Great energy. All right, let's kick things off with, "It is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Johnson." Listeners, repeat after me in that pause.
Whenever I shadow like this, I imagine I'm really meeting someone for the first time. It helps me get into the mindset instead of just copying sounds.
I love that visualization, Maya. Let's try another one. "I believe my international experience makes me a great fit for this role." Moments like these, when you practice real interview lines, can actually calm your nerves for the real thing.
Exactly. I've noticed that repeating these kinds of sentences out loud gives me a mini confidence boost. I start picturing myself actually saying them in an interview and not freaking out.
And that's the whole goal, making these phrases second nature. So when you're under pressure, the words are ready to go.
It's like training for a race. You wouldn't just read about running, you'd get up and move. And now, these words are part of my toolkit.
That actually reminds me, if you've been shadowing with us, you're already ahead of most learners. Maya, any final words for our friends at home before we wrap up?
Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Every single mistake is just a sign you're trying, and every try gets you closer to speaking English with confidence. Keep at it, even if it feels weird sometimes.
Such a great message. Thank you, Maya, and thank you to everyone listening today. If this helped you, consider subscribing to Peaceful English Listening. Leave us a comment with the word confident. We'd love to know you made it to the end.
And remember, keep listening, keep relaxing, and keep learning. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.